All right, here's the truth about what's happening right now in South Carolina real estate. South Carolina is now one of the fastest growing states in the country, with population growth leading the nation at 1.5%. And that's not just a headline, that's a signal, because when people move, real estate moves. And here in Anderson and across the upstate, we are right in the middle of that shift. I'm seeing every single day buyers relocating from high-cost states like New York, California, and New Jersey, and remote workers no longer tied to big cities. Retirees are looking for lower taxes and a better lifestyle, and families are chasing affordability and space, and South Carolina is checking all of those boxes. The lower cost of living, our mild climate, and a stronger sense of community are the things that are attracting. But here's what most people are missing. They're not just moving to Charleston anymore, they are moving inland. They're moving to places like Anderson, Greenville, and Greer, and I'll say this plainly, Anderson is one of the most undervalued growth markets in the Southeast right now. You've got proximity to Greenville, access to Clemson, Lake Hartwell right here, and you're still paying significantly less per square foot than in surrounding markets. That creates something very powerful, lifestyle arbitrage. I'm watching buyers sell homes for $600,000 or $700,000 and come here and buy something better for $350,000 to $450,000. And that's not rare. That's happening every single week. And when we find that kind of demand that hits the market, inventory starts to tighten. Days on the market start to drop and leverage begins to shift towards sellers. So what does that mean for you? If you're a seller, you are entering a leverage window. But here's the mistake I see over and over again. Sellers think growth means automatic success, and it doesn't. Because yes, there are more buyers, but there's also more competition. The sellers who win right now are the ones who price strategically, launch with momentum, and they market aggressively. Because the reality is this, the first 14 days on the market will determine your final outcome. Now, if you're a buyer, this is where it gets real. You are not just competing with local buyers anymore. You are competing with out-of-state cash, equity-rich relocators and investors who are watching the same data that you and I are. And here's the truth. Prices are not likely to get cheaper in a market like this. What actually happens is competition increases, timelines move faster, and strong offers become the norm. So the strategic buyer today is pre-approved or cash ready, understands that micro markets matter, and moves decisively when the right home hits, because hesitation has a cost. And zooming out for a second, this isn't just a moment, this is a trend. Population growth compounds, more people move in, more demand builds, more infrastructure follows, and that creates long-term appreciation, stronger rental demand, and better resale positioning. So here's my advice from being on the ground in Anderson every single day. If you're a seller, this may be the most strategic window you've had in years. But if you're going to execute correctly. And if you're a buyer, you don't need to rush, but you do need a plan, because in a growth market, waiting without strategy can cost you. And at Locke Key Associates, we don't just list homes or open doors. We study the data. We analyze migration trends, and we build pricing strategies that work. And we market in a way that actually creates demand. Because in a market like this, strategy is the difference between participating and winning. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or relocating to Anderson or the upstate, let's have a real conversation. I'm David Locke with Locke Key Associates at Keller Williams.